Have you ever seen someone suddenly pull away from everything? They start replying less, disappear from social media, stop explaining what they're doing, and then, months later, they come back. But this time, they seem calmer, more focused, and stronger. Most people assume something went wrong. They think the person failed, became depressed, or is running away from people. But that isn't always the case. Sometimes disappearing is not a sign that someone is lost. Sometimes it is a sign that they are rebuilding themselves. Psychology points to 3 important reasons behind this behavior. The first reason is that they step away to reduce mental pressure. People who think deeply often process information and experiences more intensely. They don't just notice what happens. They analyze it, question it, and search for meaning. But the human mind has a limited capacity for attention. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman's research on cognitive limitations showed that our attention is a limited resource. When the mind is constantly filled with messages, opinions, and external stimulation, there is less room left for deep thinking. That is why some people choose to step back. Not because they hate other people, but because they need to hear their own thoughts again. Think of a writer who steps away from the noise for a while to create something meaningful. Their silence is not an escape. It is a space for reconstruction. The second reason is that they are rebuilding their identity. Sometimes, a person doesn't distance themselves from other people. They distance themselves from the version of themselves they created to please everyone else. For years, they may have played the role of the strong one, the person who is always available, always helping, and never seems tired. But eventually, they may start asking themselves, is this really who I am, or is this just who everyone expects me to be? Psychologist Carl Rogers explained that an important part of human growth is moving closer to your authentic self. That is why some people disappear for a while. They are not trying to leave life behind. They are trying to understand who they really are again. It is like someone who has spent years living according to other people's expectations and finally decides to find their own direction. The third reason is that they focus on becoming rather than being seen. Some people feel the need to show every step they take, but others prefer to work quietly because they understand that real change does not always need an audience. Self-determination theory, developed by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, suggests that people driven by intrinsic motivation are less dependent on external approval. They can work for months without anyone knowing what they are doing. Think of an athlete training long before anyone sees them compete, or someone quietly learning a new skill before showing the world what they can do. Their goal is not to look successful. Their goal is to actually become better. But there is one important distinction. Not everyone who disappears is growing. Some people hide because they are afraid. Some distance themselves because they don't want to face themselves. From the outside, both situations can look exactly the same. One person becomes quiet. One person disappears. But internally, one may be running away from themselves, while the other is building themselves. So if you ever feel the need to distance yourself from everyone, don't just ask, why am I pulling away? Ask yourself, who am I becoming when no one is watching? Because sometimes, the person who disappears for a while isn't lost at all. They are simply building, in silence, a version of themselves the world hasn't seen yet.